Parathas. So parathas are kind of like a roti, but you can make them at home. They're super flaky, not very difficult. You just need to have a little tiny bit of patience when you do one of the steps, but the result is so good. Like, I love cooking these at home. They're just delicious and they really zhuzh up a dinner. Again, if you were having people around and you made these, they'd be like, whoa. What's happening here? You need 300 grams of flour. This is gonna make 6 of the parathas. We're gonna add that in there. We need a good pinch of salt, maybe even 2. And we're also gonna add some spices into the flour. This just makes such a difference. So, a little teaspoon of curry powder. Again, I love like onion seeds. It kind of feels like a naan bread. It's absolutely delicious. And then maybe a tiny bit of turmeric for some color. And that's probably all I'm gonna add. If you had garam masala, amazing. Put some garam masala in. In fact, let's go for a little bit more curry powder. There's quite a lot of flour here. And then mix it all together so that the seeds and the powders are all distributed evenly. And then here I've got 200 mils of warm water, so I put my finger in it and I can feel the difference. Now I'm only probably going to add 100 mils to start, see how it comes together, and then be very tentative to add some more water very slowly, because you do not want this mix to be wet. It needs to be quite dry, well, dry like a dough so that you can knead it. And if you add too much water, then you have to overcompensate by adding more flour, and it's just not ideal. So just be careful with your water when you first add it so that you don't add too much. I'll show you the consistency of what you want it to look like. So maybe we've added 1/4, and we're just gonna start mixing that water in. If you had a dough, you know, a dough whisk, you could use that. It's always handy. Another 1/4. And as you can see, I'm just being careful not to add too much, because we know what happens when you add too much. It turns into a sloppy mess. As you can see, it's beginning to bind, so I'm just going to add maybe another 50 ml of water. I think that's going to be it. You know, I still have here left maybe another 50 ml. So start bringing it together with the hands. And because it's warm water, it will come together slightly easier. I'm going to tip it out. You know, there's still some flour here. The dough actually feels, yeah, because it's warm, it absorbs it just a little bit better. Yeah, I think we've got enough water in here. That's 50 ml shorter than what I said. Also, I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but you know, humidity, temperature outside, gosh, the time of the year. I mean, there's so many variations as to why your flour may or may not take on as much water, but this is probably, yeah, good. So we need to knead it for 10 or so minutes. We want all the gluten to start working. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, so that's 50 mils left that I didn't use. So always just be gentle with it. Okay. And when you knead, I always pick up the front and push it down with the back of my hand. Again, I'm sure probably someone's going to tell me, yeah, you could do that better. This is the way I've always done it. So you kind of squish it out, fold it up, squish it out, fold it up, squish it out, fold it up, squish it out, fold it up. Just like that. And then you start working it. And you'll feel that the texture starts to change. You know, even here, it's starting to change. As I push it in, it doesn't have too much bounce back, so You need to keep working that gluten. You can also do this in a mixer with a dough hook, but I don't know, I quite like being connected to my food a bit. Plus as well, it's a good workout. Oh yeah, as you can see, it's, I don't know, you know, the dough has changed. It's starting to be slightly more bound. It's a little bit more bouncy in texture. You can go with 2 hands now, be a bit more forceful. Oh, be careful of your hair. If I was cooking in a restaurant, I would probably have been fired, but I wouldn't have my hair down. Okay, I mean, I would say I've been kneading this for maybe 5 minutes, and again, you know, here, the texture, it is starting to spring back. I would say we are there. Here's your dough. Bounces back. Bounces back. Here. Just gonna add a tiny drop of oil so that the dough doesn't stick. And wipe it all the way around. Sit the dough in the bottom and cover it with a cloth. 15 minutes later, we'll come back to it. The dough has had 15 minutes resting. We're going to put a little bit of flour on the table so it doesn't stick. Roll it out. And then we're going to cut this into 6 even pieces. A little bit more flour. And then we're going to roll this once it's rolled out thin. I just have a tiny little bit of melted butter here. Again, if you're vegan, then you can just use some vegan butter. I'm just going to spread it over because, again, this is just a little bit of fat. Once we've got it to there, we're going to Constantina the dough. So we're going to go 1, 2, like this. This is the fiddly bit, but it makes such a difference. This is like adding layers, as if you're almost making puff pastry. This is what's going to give it a little puff. As you can see, like this, folding it together. And also the butter kind of helps it stick a bit, which is great. Fold it together. Fold it together. You want to keep them nice and even, like that. And one more time. So, you now have something that looks like this. We're going to roll it up, like this, into a pinwheel, like that. It seems complicated, but it's not, it's easy, I promise you. And then once it's in a pinwheel, we're going to roll it. So here, we're going to roll all these layers together. A little bit more on here. This little bit that's come out, I'm just going to fold it underneath. I'm just going to roll it out. Roll it out. And again, you want to make this pretty thin, because then it will cook slightly quicker. And you're just going to have a slightly better roti. So, for paratha. As you can see there's all these layers in the dough. That's what you want. And that as you can see, this is why it's important that your dough has just the right amount of water in it. You really don't want it to be too soft at all. Oh my god, I literally can't wait to eat these. They're gonna be so freaking delicious. As you can see here with this other hand, I'm just kind of holding down the back a bit because it just makes it easier to stretch the dough and pull it out. I'm gonna just pat off any excess flour, and that's it. Now we're gonna cook the paratha. I put a little bit of oil in here. We're just gonna coat the whole pan. Gonna take about 2 minutes on each side. Pop them in. You don't want it to be too hot because you need the dough to cook. But remember, they do have butter in them, so they're gonna get a nice little colour. Ooh-wee, I'm excited. As you can see here, we're starting to get some spots where it's starting to cook. This is gonna be much like when you make pancakes. The first one never comes out as great. They'll only just get better as the pan gets a nice temperature on it. I can't wait to eat these. You can see the nice layers in there. And also from that rise, there will be a little bit of puff in the dough, but you see how they're getting a nice bit of colour on them. But the pan is smoking a little, so it also tells me that the pan's probably a bit too hot. That's it, that's getting there. It's probably gonna take between 3 and 4 minutes to cook it all the way through. That's also why it's important to roll it thin. But here you can see the layers. Oh, this is gonna be yum. And there we have it, the parathas. As you can see, they're like flaky and crisp. Oh, so delicious.